Time. Mark. On guard. Pull.
Would everyone please stand for the posting of our flag?
To the right. Forward. Clear. Freeze and hook. National anthem, please.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave?
Oh, there. Hook. On the guard. Now to the right. Forward. Hook. Oh, ready.
Please be seated, everyone. This time I'd like to introduce Chaplain John Oates, Chaplain of Police of the Seattle Police Department.
Good afternoon. Please bow your heads with me. Before you, O Lord, you who is greatness, you who is strength, you who are truth to us, you who many call leader, creator, we pause. It is a good thing for us in the busyness of our schedules and in these days to take a moment to simply stop and to give tribute, honor, and recognition to those who have given to us not only our freedoms, but have given to us our civil liberties and our abilities, Father, to be human beings. That right and that privilege is earned, and we are here to honor those who have helped us. Thank you. To the family members, we pray that there would be a special warmth in their hearts, as this sense of love from our hearts to them lets us know that we will not forget. To department members who are still working and on our streets today, we thank you and ask you to encourage their hearts. To those in leadership for us, we pray a special prayer of courage and strength as tough and difficult decisions are faced in these days. So for all of this, we come together to thank you and ask that you continue, dear Lord, to be with us and that this ceremony be pleasing in your sight. We ask in our Lord's name. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dave Saloba. I am the General Manager here at Forest Lawn, as well as the founding chair of the Seattle Police Memorial, which we began 4 years ago. On this site, at some future point, hopefully in the next 1 to 2 years, we plan to erect a permanent memorial honoring all of the officers whose names you see listed in your program today. Very honored that we have so many officers with us. We have leadership with us this year, and it's a very great thing that we all share in this endeavor. From the City of Seattle and the Office of the Mayor, by proclamation, it states, whereas the Seattle Police Department was established in 1881, has evolved into one of the most well-respected departments in the nation, and is committed to fighting crime, reducing fear, and building safer communities. And whereas every day Seattle police officers put their lives on the line to make Seattle communities safe, because to protect and serve is what our officers do best. And whereas the Seattle Police Memorial is to be a permanent memorial and a place of peace, remembrance, and solace for the families and colleagues of officers fallen in the line of duty. And whereas the Seattle Police Memorial was begun by the citizens of the City of Seattle as a nonprofit organization to serve as a testament and reminder of the sacrifice and dedication of our police department. And whereas today we come together to pay special tribute and remember our police officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty, and to those who have been injured in service. Now, therefore, I, Michael McGinn, Mayor of the City of Seattle, do hereby proclaim May 18, 2012 to be Seattle Police Memorial Day, and urge all to join in honoring and reflecting upon the sacrifice and dedication of those who have fallen in service to the City of Seattle and its people. And it is signed Michael McGinn, Mayor of Seattle. So today we celebrate this Seattle Police remembrance, this Memorial Day in the City of Seattle honoring our police. And this is done in conjunction with the National Police Officers Memorial Day, which is in Washington, D.C., the National Police Week. So we come here to honor our law enforcement heroes whose names you see in today. Our cause remains steadfast. We began 4 years ago. However long it will take, we will do. To honor our heroes for their sacrifice, with ceremony and reflection and with fellowship, and to see these names that you see on paper today cut into stone. Policing carries with it the burden that at any point an officer may pay the ultimate sacrifice by giving his or her life to save another. The people who are called to this job knowingly accept these risks every day, choosing to walk into danger and to protect others. Some data that I found actually on the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial site, and it states that there are more than 900,000 sworn law enforcement officers serving in the United States, which is the highest figure ever. About 12% of those are female. According to the FBI Uniform Crime Reports, an estimated 1.3 million violent crimes occurred nationwide in 2010, a 6% decrease from 2009. Crime fighting has taken its toll. Since the first recorded police death in 1791, there have been over 19,000 law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty. Currently, there are 19,660 names engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. A total of 1,799 law enforcement officers died in the line of duty during the past 10 years, and on an average, that's one death every 53 hours, or 164 per year. There were 163 killed in 2011. On average, over the last decade, there have been 53,469 assaults against law enforcement each year, resulting in 15,833 injuries. The 1920s were the deadliest decade in law enforcement history, when a total of 2,318 officers died, or an average of almost 232 each year. The deadliest year was 1930, when 290 officers were killed. That figures dropped dramatically in the 1990s to an average of 161. The deadliest day in law enforcement history was September 11th in 2001, when 72 officers were killed while responding to the terrorist attacks on America. New York City has lost more officers in the line of duty than any other department, with 695 deaths. Texas has lost 1,631 officers, more than any other state. The state with the fewest deaths is Vermont, with 22. Here in the state of Washington, 294 officers have been lost, and of those 294, 58 you see listed are from the city of Seattle. A little change from your program that you see listed. I was very pleased and I'm very honored to see Chief John Diaz here. His schedule varies quite greatly, and difficult to get him out to events sometimes, but Chief Diaz is here with us today, and it gives me great honor to introduce to you the Chief of Police for the City of Seattle, Chief John Diaz.
Thank you, David. These are always such difficult times for all of us, for the families, for the members of our law enforcement community. Each time we sit and we reflect on the death of our officers. But I want to first thank each and every one of you for being here this afternoon as we honor the memory of all the Seattle police officers who died in the line of duty, and to remember all of those who made the ultimate sacrifice in service of this community. These Seattle police officers reinforce dramatically who we are as a law enforcement community and why we do what we do. In remembering, we rededicate ourselves to our high calling and to the values of courage, solidarity, and vigilance that strengthen and bind us together. And equally important, we pledge our love and support to the families of our fallen officers. It is heartening in this gloomy and too cynical world at times that there are still heroes to marvel at and believe in, and none are more marvelous than those willing to lay down their lives for the greater good. It is these heroes who remind us of what is truly important in this life to care about and devote energy to. It is the safety and security of the community, and there is no higher calling. It is these heroes who, by their examples, encourage us to dig deeper, to work harder, and to stay focused on those causes of greatest value and lasting impact. And there are none so lasting nor so worthy as the cause of justice. We honor our heroes by remembering not only the causes for which they fought, but also the ways they chose to serve. This memorial is a wonderful and fitting remembrance for all our fallen officers, but it will serve as an even greater honor if each time we pass by, we are reminded of the cause for which they gave their lives and are inspired to do our part to make this community a better and safer place to live. It is a great honor for me to be here today and to address all of you. What Forest Lawn is doing and moving forward on this memorial is truly a wonderful thing. We can never forget the work that our officers have done and the officers who have
Thank you, Chief Diaz. Deputy Chief Nick Metz currently serves as the Deputy Chief of Operations, overseeing patrol operations, criminal investigations, and special operations bureaus. He has served with the Seattle Police Department for more than 28 years. Chief Metz, served on the board of directors for the for the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation, and is on the board of directors for Behind the Badge Foundation, as well as the Safe Call Now program. He is a driving force behind the care of law enforcement families suffering from a line of duty death or on-the-job trauma. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you the Deputy Chief of Operations for the City of Seattle Police Department, Deputy Chief Nick Metz.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start off first by giving a couple thank yous out there. Number one, I'd like to thank Dave Sloth and his staff for sponsoring this very important and very touching event. I think this is the fourth year, and we look forward to more of these events, and we're going to get more and more people. This is actually, I think we broke the record today, so we're getting there. So thank you for everything that you've done. It means a great deal. I also want to thank Captain Steve Paulson and Lieutenant Pierre Davis for the work that they did from the Southwest Precinct and helping to coordinate and put this together. I called Steve up a couple weeks ago, I think, just gave him a quick last-minute notice and said, put it together, and Steve and Pierre and their crew did a great job of doing that, so thank you very much for that. I'd also like to give a special thanks to our Seattle Police Honor Guard. Our Honor Guard has been very busy, unfortunately, in many ways, this last year. But every time that they've been called to duty, they've been there. They've looked absolutely professional, have represented the police department incredibly well in law enforcement, and under the leadership of Sergeant Ty Elster and TJ Havenar, we just want to say thank you for everything that you guys do. And our Seattle Police Department Pipes and Drums. This group is pretty new. It started off as just a wild dream by Officer Ryan Gallagher, and it has come true. It has come just an amazing progress over the last few months. I think the first time we actually saw the pipes and drums perform, if you will, was one member, which was Officer Cepeda. Then the next time was 3, and the next time was 5, and I think now we have 7 or 8. So they have just done an incredible job, and I look forward to you being able to experience that as well. I also want to thank our public safety partners from the Seattle Fire Department and the King County Sheriff's Office for being here. It means a great deal to us that you took the time out of your schedules to be here. We are brothers and sisters in law enforcement, and there have been so many times when we have worked hand in hand on many kinds of events and incidents. And without that partnership with the King County Sheriff and our Seattle Fire Department, we wouldn't be as good as we are. So thank you. And finally, I want to thank the families of Timothy Brenton and the families of Officer Lito Barber for being here as well. Your presence here is a tremendous reminder of why we are here. And we truly understand that the sacrifice that you made, that you had to pay for in your emotions and the loss from the last few years continues. And the fact that you've maintained that type of relationship with us and have strengthened that friendship is a great deal. So we're so happy that you're here with us today. You know, when I first learned that Forest Lawn was doing this event for us, it was a significant reminder of just how much people in our community really care. I know lately we've been getting our fair share of heat in the community for a number of different things, And I think sometimes our officers tend to wonder whether or not there are people out there in the community who appreciate and care about the work that we do. And I believe this is just one of many, many examples of folks out there in the community who truly understand and truly appreciate the hard work that our officers do day in and day out. The fact that our officers go into harm's way without a second thought, backing up fellow officers, protecting the community, doing the things that are expected of our officers, they acknowledge that. The people in this community really care and really appreciate it. So I want to say thank you again to Forest Lawn. You know, when we think about this list of officers, there's 58 names on here, and I know in my career there's 8 of those officers I knew personally, and I know there are some here today who know a lot more than those 8. It's a surreal reminder about the hazards of our job, and that any time, without forewarning, one of our officers could be the victim of some kind of trauma. And it's a surreal reminder that it's important that we constantly reflect on the job that we do, that we constantly remind people in the community of the importance that we place in the position that we have. This badge symbolizes a great deal. It symbolizes professionalism, it symbolizes trust, it symbolizes courage. Each one of those things our officers represent every single day without fail. And I just want to say how proud I am of our officers, those that are here, those that are out on the street protecting our community, how proud I am of the work that they continue to do every single day. As we leave here today, I want all of us to take some time to reconnect. I know there's some folks here I haven't seen for a while. There's probably some folks that you haven't seen for a while. Take that time today to reconnect. Life is short. We've seen over this last year, just within our department, that we've lost 5 members of our agency. Life is short. It's time to make sure that we're doing everything we can to reconnect with our friends and our families, and making sure that we reflect on what is really, truly important in our lives. And for that, I just want to say thank you again to Forest Lawn. Thank you for the outpouring of affection and concern for our department, and for our fallen officers, for our current officers, and for our survivors. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Metz. Today our keynote speaker is Sergeant Frank Campson. He's a retired detective sergeant from the City of Seattle Police. He's a 30-year veteran, retiring, but before that, he was a United States Marine. Hoorah, that's right. Who served in the height of combat in Vietnam. During his Seattle Police tenure, he served for many years with the SPD Honor Guard, including more than 10 years as its commander. Frank is the founding president of the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation, and served as the board president from 1996 until 2007. On January 1st in 2009, the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial and the 1099 Foundation combined forces to become one organization behind the Badge Foundation, where Frank serves as counsel. He also is the law enforcement liaison for concerns of police survivors or cops. Frank was the driving force behind the creation and construction of the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial that was completed and dedicated on May 1st in 2006 on the Capitol campus in Olympia. He has the sad distinction of having attended more than 60 line of duty death, funeral, and memorial services in the state of Washington. It's my great honor to present the founding president of the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation, Sergeant Frank Campson.
Wow. Great introduction. Thank you, David. It's a great honor to be here today. And I know what David is getting ready to do. I think I have a good idea what he is trying to start here. And so I'm truly honored that he is continuing on with that endeavor. And if there's some way that I can help in the future, David, you've got my number, so give me a call and I'd be happy to lend a hand or see what we can do to help accomplish this goal. I was asked, of course, to speak here today from David, and in my exchange of emails between David and Deputy Chief Nick Metz, Deputy Chief Metz explained to David that I could speak on the subject for about 3 hours, and he's right, I could. But I did tell him that I would try to narrow it down a little bit, so I plan on about 45 minutes, if that's okay. No, I'll keep it down. But again, thank you so much for allowing me to address this audience. It's really an honor. I've spoken before at several Seattle Police Memorials in the past when we were trying to raise awareness and funds for the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial. You'll notice today that I am wearing the mourning band across my badge. Not only do I wear this band to mourn, but to remember. We all wear this band during those times when we lose a brother or sister in our profession. But I wear one during this time of the year when we honor nationally all law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty. David mentioned some things here earlier about some statistics, and I'd like to re-point some of these out. But did you know that the National Wall in Washington, D.C., there are over 19,500 names on that wall? And did you know that we lose an officer somewhere in America every 53 hours? And did you know that since the beginning of the recording of line of duty deaths in Washington State, we average 2 line of duty deaths every year, and we've already suffered 10 this year. And that the deaths due to shootings has increased dramatically. The Seattle Police Department has lost the most officers in this state who have died in the line of duty. You've heard the number, 58. It's a special note is that this time they're all male officers. All with fathers, sons, husbands, brothers. They are all a part of the history of this department. They all have their personal stories. They had their dreams for their future and their families. Families. They continue to miss them. During my extended career with this department, I have attended 15 line of duty deaths, services for Seattle officers that I knew personally. Many were good friends. And one, a fellow academy classmate. I have been to the scene of several Seattle officers killed in the line of duty. And it has a serious effect on all of us. So, while I was planning this law enforcement memorial, I keep getting the question that's asked quite often. What instilled you to become so involved in making of the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial? Well, being an old combat Marine that served in Vietnam, I saw many friends wounded and killed in action. I never got injured. And to this day, I don't know why or how that happened. You see, I carried an M60 machine gun and was always a prime target to the enemy. I guess the good Lord had something else planned for me. After returning from Vietnam, my MOS changed. Hence my career. I ended up in the military police. While there, one responsibility was volunteering to act as casket watch and honor guard for Marines being returned from burial services. I would wear my dress blues and assist in the military honors due to a fallen Marine. Recognized that after the service was over, no other contacts were made to the surviving relatives or families of these fallen Marines. They received a folded flag and the thanks of a grateful nation. That seemed to be all there was. After becoming a member of this department in 1967, I attended my first line of duty death memorial service. Again, I saw firsthand that there was nothing for surviving families after the service was over. No continued contact by the agency. It was like they just disappeared. Still, there was no expertise that I had other than the knowledge of rendering honors at military memorials. It was at this time that I recognized a special unit within this department that had a special uniform. Back then, it was called the Seattle Police Marching Drill Team. One of their functions was to act as honor guards during memorial services. And I thought at that time that this might be a way that I could do some more. The unit really interested me. And today, this is the culmination of that unit that's carried on. So I'm going to jump to 1976. I was finishing college and decided to join the marching drill team. This began a process for me of officially attending memorial ceremonies, not only for this agency, but for many departments around the state. In 1982, under a guise of budget cuts, unfortunately, the drill team was disbanded. However, many of us convinced the department to maintain the honor guard portion of the unit. And in about 1985, I became the honor guard commander. In 1991, I, along with several members of the Seattle Police Honor Guard, attended the opening ceremony of the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. I recognized what this memorial meant to all officers, and especially the surviving family members. I heard many comments from survivors of the pride they felt. Seeing the names of their loved ones on this memorial wall, knowing they were not forgotten. June. (1994). Shooting death of Officer Antonio Terry required me to take a role of the first line of duty death as the commander responsible for making sure that Antonio was honored properly. I took this role very seriously and later got to know the Terry family very, very well. In 1995, I sat on the board as the Guild as the Secretary-Treasurer. And back then, also on the board of the Washington Council of Police and Sheriffs. After seeing the National Memorial and what it meant to so many, I began doing some research to find out how many other states have law enforcement memorials on or near their Capitol grounds. I found 35 states during that period that had these memorials and asked myself, why not Washington State? I asked both of these organizations about the support of beginning this project, and both agreed. Both signed off on it. And to this day, both of them kept their word. This began an 11-year process of the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation with the culmination of a beautiful law enforcement memorial on the Capitol campus in Olympia, overlooking Heritage Park and Capitol Lake, a $2 million project. Believe me when I tell you that we in this state have one of the nicest memorials honoring our fallen. This project could not have been accomplished without the assistance of this department and allowing me at that time to attend many, many business and board meetings. The very first donation was from actually the Seattle Police Reserve Unit for $2,000, the very first donation. The Seattle Police Guild in 1997 donated $30,000. And later, the Council of Municipal Police and Sheriffs donated $20,000. There were individuals and officers from this department and other agencies that I asked to step up and help make this dream become a reality. I feel it necessary to mention a few here today that helped. One, who's retired now and lives over in Maui, retired Sergeant Roger Dixon. Another was Sergeant Kevin Hastings from Harbor. And of course, Deputy Chief Nick Metz. I would be remiss if I did not publicly thank some of our elected officials in Olympia, like the Governor, the Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State, the Attorney General, and the Department of General Administration for recognizing what we were trying to accomplish back then. And on May 1st, 2006, as president of the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation, I signed over to the state the Washington State Law Enforcement Memorial. A proud but humbling moment for me, absolutely. But the best moment for me was seeing the faces of all of our survivors in attendance at the first official ceremony, seeing them touch the names of their loved ones and being touched by the beauty of the moment. There are now 295 names of law enforcement officers on this state's memorial wall. I would like us all to remember that the first Friday of every May, we honor these fallen heroes of the badge in Olympia. But today, here, we especially honor our own fallen. Never forget these heroes. Never. The other day, I was preparing a law enforcement roll call of honor for a presentation that I was doing. I began going over the list of the law enforcement names and began counting the memorial services that I had attended and assisted. I stopped counting at 60. 60 line of duty death memorials that I've been to. That did not include, for my firefighter friends here, the 5 firefighter memorials in this city where we assisted with those honors. So remember, this is your state law enforcement memorial. And this is your future site for the city's law enforcement memorial. However, I encourage all of you to make the trip to Olympia. If you have not seen this memorial, you will not be disappointed. And lastly, I want to repeat something that I used to say to the officers that work for me every day. It has repeated many times. So take it from this old sergeant here, that your profession is law enforcement and your job is to go home at the end of your shift. Stay safe. And again, thank you for allowing me to be here.
This was our fourth memorial at this site. It will continue every year from this point forward. Hopefully we will not add more names to the current list. But if we do, they will be remembered here, always. This site will never be anything but for this purpose. So our ceremony is ended and our heroes' life celebrated. Thank you all for joining us in this time of remembering. I'd like to thank Frank Campson for joining us today. It's a great honor to have him as a part of this ceremony and his counsel, actually, on our coming endeavor. Great thanks to Chief Diaz for joining us today. Very busy, as everyone is well aware. Many places to go, and today he's here with us. Thank you so much. Deputy Chief Nick Metz, thank you so much for joining us last year and kind of being a catalyst to help this grow beyond what it has been. Seattle Police Honor Guard, of course, goes without saying. A wonderful job. I've seen them on numerous occasions outside of this venue, and always impressive. Very professional. Thank you very much. And of course, the Seattle Police Pipes and Drums. Last year we had contacted them and had hoped that they would join us, and they felt that they weren't quite ready at that time. And I don't know about you, but they sound pretty ready to me now. So congratulations, and keep going and keep growing. Before I introduce the chaplain once again, he did promise me beforehand here that he had good connections for the weather, and obviously he does. So thank you, Chaplain John. Speaks well for the department, I think. And certainly, Captain Steve Paulson, thank you so much. You've been a great help in all of this. It's wonderful having the precinct just down the hill from us. We frequently see the officers here on Forest Lawn. They have a usual little hiding spot up behind us on the hill here, which they're always welcome. Always happy to see the cars come on the property. So. Before we close our service, I wanted to invite everyone across the street to our reception center. We have food and fellowship there for you, and we would like to invite everyone to get reacquainted. If you haven't seen one another for a little while, it's a great opportunity to do that. We thank you all for joining us here today in this celebration of our police officer heroes in the city of Seattle. This time I will introduce once again Chaplain John Oas with the Seattle Police Department.
Now, as we determine within our hearts that we go from here to not only realize that we will not forget, but we live the life that these before us have exemplified. You don't need to bow your head for this, but this is a blessing I'd like to leave you with. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord go before you to show you the way when it's the most difficult. May he be behind you to encourage your pace, not to give up. And may he be alongside of you to whisper deep in your heart his very special peace. Blessings on all of you. Thank you.
Never forget. Please stand for the retiring of our colors.